This episode of the Grapple Asia podcast is brought to you by Grappling Industries, the fastest growing international tournament in Jiu-Jitsu. Grappling Industries has done an incredible job of creating the best tournament experience possible for Jiu-Jitsu athletes. They are affordable and they offer a round-robin format that guarantees plenty of matches for the price of admission. They offer both gi and no-gi and open to all ages and experience levels. And they have a very modern rule set with no advantages that encourages submissions and matches. In the last few years, Grappling Industries has grown tremendously, running over 200 events worldwide, and now they're coming to Southeast Asia for the very first time, beginning with Kuala Lumpur on February 15th and 16th, that's Malaysia, and Bangkok, Thailand on March 8th and 9th. And listeners of the podcast can register with coupon code GRAPPLEASIA for 15% off registrations. That's Grapple Asia for 15% off your registrations. Register now. Thank you. So before we start the Grapple Asia podcast episode, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors and people that support us. Softspot.Açaí. Kat has a little store now in Tonglo, and they do some incredible acai. It's sugar-free, no preservatives, and they have little pop-ups around the place. They had a little pop-up in Paragraph and Quartier recently, but they're mainly based in Tonglo. They're available on Grab as well, and they do some great dairy hybrid options as well, and their nut butters are incredible. The pistachio one I highly recommend personally. Our sponsor is fightaesthetic.asia, and if you use code GRAPPLEASIA, you'll get 10% off everything except from the Alpha Gi. So thank you to Aesthetic for always supporting us, and we actually do also supply them in Thailand with free shipping as well. And then our last sponsor or supporters is Staline.food, and they do high protein prepackaged meals, frozen. They do protein drinks as well that they can deliver. And if you use StayRate50, you'll get a little discount on delivery. And I highly recommend some of their flavored yogurt chicken protein drinks. They actually go down a lot easier than you think. So thank you very much, Staline.food. So my guest today is Dorothy Dao. She's a black belt under Half Gracie Berkeley's Eduardo Fraga, right?
Yes.
And she recently moved back to Thailand. And just wanted to sit down and have a conversation with her. Thanks for coming on, Dorothy.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So tell me how you got started in Jiu-Jitsu.
So I've been training like 10 years now.
Yep.
And I started back home in California for like 6 months, kind of like doing free trials like once a week, kind of not super into it.
Yeah.
But just as a way to get fit again. And then I did my last semester of university abroad in Cape Town.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, so that's kind of when the bug hit, like the 6 month like learning curve, kind of like things started making sense. So I really got into it at Renzo Gracie Cape Town.
Yep.
And then I did 6 months there, and then I came back to Berkeley, and then just went like kind of full on from there.
Did you go straight to Half Gracie, or did you look around a little bit?
No, I pretty much started at Half Gracie. At the time, there weren't so many like small gyms around, and I didn't really know anything about jiu-jitsu, so I was like, cool, this is right next to my campus, so it's great.
Yeah, and I think we met back when Arete was still at Panjit Tower in that small place with the green mats, right?
Yeah.
And you're traveling around, yeah. Have you always had this kind of like travel bug, let's say?
Yeah, so like I didn't always have the means to do it. That was actually my first solo trip besides Cape Town abroad for pleasure. Once I managed to get out of university, became a little bit more financially stable, I was like, all right, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you find traveling in Thailand at the time? Because it's roughly around maybe 7 years ago, roughly now?
I think 7 years ago.
Yeah, because you had a little stint down in Phuket as well, right?
Did I?
I think you did, yeah, because you came back like when your face was peeling.
I
you're
was so
super burnt.
Yeah. I went kayaking around the islands without sunscreen. That was dumb.
Yeah.
I really loved it. Like, obviously, I've met like you guys and become close friends with some of the people here for like years now. So just from that first trip, like I developed some of the closest friendships I've had. Ever. So yeah, like obviously I love Thailand. I lived here 2 years ago and then now I'm back for longer term.
Yeah.
So obviously not many bad things to say.
Yeah. Is there a reason why you picked Thailand? Because I think you're considering, you're Vietnamese as well, right? So, I mean, you did consider it for a while. Why did you decide Thailand over Vietnam, would you say?
I'm going to say the visa situation is a bit easier for both me and for my partner here. We both work remote, so like we can do the digital nomad visa pretty easily. Ben speaks Thai.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
Like, conversationally.
Yeah.
I think a big factor was just we have more friends here here, and the jiu-jitsu scene's a bit more established here.
That's true.
So for what I want right now, I think that Bangkok makes more sense.
Fit for purpose, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So in terms of jiu-jitsu, what have you enjoyed the most about it?
I've thought about this a lot, and it's actually like, I love jiu-jitsu as a sport, of course, and an art, but I really love the community and like the people I've met just traveling around. You know, before jiu-jitsu, I wasn't a super social human, like quite awkward actually. And I feel like wherever I go, like I can make instant friends almost. So that really keeps me traveling just to see people again and competing almost. I love jiu-jitsu. Like it's like a never-ending puzzle that like you feel like you never get good at.
Yeah,
so
that's true. Yeah.
So it's just like it will keep me engaged forever as long as my body can keep up. We'll see.
So another question is, you compete a lot, and I just wanted to know, like, when was the major turning point where you actually wanted to do it, like, kind of like professionally, would you say?
I wouldn't call myself a professional at all.
I mean, like...
Yeah. So I got my black belt, I think, 2021. Before then, like, I competed a lot, but it wasn't, like, professional at all. It was, like, more for traveling and just like being in the scene. And I think last year was actually the first full year where I did it and kind of understood what doing it professionally takes. So I would say like, just the last year I competed a ton. That was the goal. Now I'm kind of ramping down from that.
I think I read somewhere that you were thinking this was going to be like my last year of full commitment of like doing it like full time. Was there a reason why you specifically chose Art of Jiu-Jitsu or AOJ?
Well, half of my division is there.
Okay.
And I've been so spoiled the past year. Like I didn't have to roll with a single guy. And basically every day, every round was with like a female black belt, roughly my size, or like just a whole room of very talented women. So I found my injury rate was a lot lower. It was just very cool finding an environment of like similar-bodied, similar-minded women who were also simultaneously able to train as much as I wanted to.
Okay. What would you say makes AOJ so unique? Because, I mean, they're turning out some incredible competitors there, and obviously they have a great kids program as well.
Yeah. I think mainly, like, the people going there with the mindset of, I want to do this professionally and willing to put in the work to do it. It's like, you know, most gyms, they have, like, one or two people who compete a lot. It's hard motivating yourself to do that all the time, but when you're surrounded by that, when that's your circle,
it's easier.
I think it elevates everyone. And obviously the coaching is great and like just the amount of resources you have at hand, like just to pick brains every day is incredible.
So what is something that a lot of jiu-jitsu gyms don't know or you think would really benefit that AOJ implement, would you say?
I think they don't waste time on warm-up. The way Gi teaches, I really like. It's conceptual. Even though they have like a specific style, it allows room for the athletes to work on whatever they're working on within the class, which is cool. Like he could be teaching front headlock or something, but the way he describes things is very like, conceptual. So I feel like you can still develop stuff that you want to within the class time. You don't have to add on extra time to do that.
Obviously, it's the Mendez brothers, so there's obviously Gi and Hafa, but Gi seems to take on like the general role or like the head coach role way more. What's Hafa doing then?
Hafa is blitzing through every black belt in the room still. He shows up to train. Like, I don't have much insight into, like, the inner workings of AOJ. But, like, he would always show up to, like, train comp class, still, like, murder everyone. I know they were opening Mission Viejo when I was there, so I think he was doing a ton of the business side of that as well. And then he does teach like the kids classes sometimes. So that's kind of what he's up to. I hope he comes back this year too. They've been teasing it.
Oh, have they? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I'd love to see it.
That'd be amazing. What did you think you took away from just that whole 1 year experience in Costa Mesa?
Much more aware of training partner size difference now.
Do you think that's very important in terms of like, obviously with typical gyms, you'll have like various different sizes and stuff like that. Like now that I'm getting close to 40 as well, I'm very careful about like give or 10 kg or 20 pounds weight difference. Anything after that, I just feel like, especially if they're like newer, like white belts and stuff like that, the injury rate is so much higher, right?
Yeah. I just won't roll with like huge new white belts unless they're like from a wrestling background or something, you know? I got a lot less injured training with similar sized people. Obviously, I feel like I have like very little left to prove. So there's like, when I was, you know, blue, purple, brown coming up, like I would roll with everyone and try to murder them. But that's how I got super hurt, just trying to prove something. But now it's like I want to prioritize longevity in the sport. But yeah, I think at AOJ I kind of learned how to format my training and optimize for competition. And it was really interesting just seeing the way they kind of run classes and run the program, because I feel like there's this shroud of like mystery, you know, even though like they put everything up online and people just aren't able to train there, and they're just like, what is the secret behind their success? You know, but really I think it's just time. Like people put in like hours every day. How can you not get good?
So in terms of what works for you as a competitor, what would be like a typical week of like how would you structure your training in terms of recovery, training, specific stuff, nutrition, all this kind of stuff?
Last year I went professional. I got a nutritionist. I got proper strength coach, like a physical therapist. The training schedule there would be, we'd start at 6 or 7 in the morning. 6 would be Taiwan's class. Then we jumped into comp training. I was working pretty much full-time plus, so I usually didn't make it to 6. But I would sometimes. So comp training is 7 or 7:30. Then after that, Gi teaches another hour, and then I did Cole's no-gi class. And then sometimes in the afternoon, I'd come back to drill often. So it was a lot of hours. And then I'd have to add in 3 sessions of lifting a week. My recovery was terrible. Like,
really?
I'm not gonna like say that I'm giving advice on how to recover correctly.
What do you think is that one deficit part of your recovery? Like, let's say like it's supposed to be like macros, for example, sleep schedule, how much you're lifting, etc. What do you think was the biggest deficit for you and how you didn't recover properly?
Sleep.
Yeah,
I'm a night owl. So I really liked how regimented my schedule was there, just knowing I had to get up at like 5 or 6 every morning. But at the end of the day, it's like when I give 6 hours a day to jiu-jitsu, I have to make that up. Like I'm still working. Like I work till midnight or more, you know, and then you don't fall asleep right away. So it was definitely sleep. I did notice my recovery improved after I started working with a dietitian. In terms of I was eating enough, I think, but the eating frequency really helped me a lot. Like I'd have to like get home from training, cook breakfast right away. Just to have time to eat lunch. And then, so it was like a lot of meals. And then my weight actually dropped from that. So that was cool to see. And I highly recommend Fight Dietitian if
I've heard good things about them.
They're great.
So out of all the countries you visited, you had a little stint in Shanghai as well. Why did you decide to live and work there for a while?
So I was going to go into law school when I was living in San Francisco, and I was working in a law firm to kind of like see what that's like. And I ended up deciding that sucks, like not going to do it. And then I kind of just had to pick. I knew I wanted to travel. And then China at the time, its economy was like on the rise still. And I met quite a few people who were kind of just like doing entrepreneurial stuff out there, and I just kind of at some point had to pick a city, and it just made sense to go to China, learn Chinese a bit, and see what opportunities arose. Off path a little bit, as is typical of myself. But yeah, so that's why I picked Shanghai. It just seemed like there was a lot of opportunity. The expat scene was a bit more ambitious than Bangkok.
I'd say so, yeah. I hear the same thing about Singapore as well.
Yes. Like I also considered Bangkok. I just figured I might get sucked into like vices here.
Seems to be a big problem with a lot of people, yeah. Unless you have something structured, you're goal orientated, it can become a little bit complacent, I think.
Yeah. The expat scene here has changed a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the past like 10 years. Yeah. So I think now I'd say Shanghai and Bangkok have similar opportunity. Yeah.
I met, obviously, I did an interview with Joseph as well, and he's done time in Shanghai. He started jiu-jitsu in Nanjing, and obviously his father lives over in Taipei as well. And he was saying like, yeah, definitely Shanghai is definitely growing. And I just feel like it's a huge market that not a lot of people have explored.
Yeah, it's just Chinese, like social media, everything is so insulated that like I feel like a lot of it doesn't get out. It was very valuable time I felt like I spent in Shanghai for like roughly 4 years until COVID. Just like the connections I made there and kind of understanding the Chinese like ecosystem in terms of jiu-jitsu was valuable.
Yeah. So obviously COVID happens. What were you doing during that period?
What was I doing?
Didn't you went to Chile as well at one point, didn't you?
I did not go to Chile.
Oh.
So I think, I was still in Shanghai. And I remember the day they shut down Wuhan, I had just started like officially dating my partner. And he lived in California. And so I just decided to like move back to California sooner than expected. And then we got stuck in the Bay Area during COVID, which was relatively strict. We just moved in with a bunch of our teammates and trained anyways. And then I moved to Legion for a month after about a year. And then we got business visas to Bali.
Right.
And then we were in Bali for a few months in the middle of like COVID, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You really enjoyed Bali?
In the middle of COVID. Like, it was sad because a lot of the businesses were closed or people were struggling, but also you will never get to experience Bali empty ever again.
Yeah. I went there like 6-7 years ago to train, but now it seems like it's grown a lot. I mean, obviously there's Soma now, and there's Woven as well, which I want to check out when I get a chance as well. And you were there quite recently for a Bali camp, right, for A Leon?
Yeah, so they've flown us out twice now, or they've had 3 camps. I've gone to 2. Joseph did this one. Joseph and Craig did the previous one. It was at Bali MMA.
Yeah.
I love those camps. They're super fun and like exuberant.
Yeah. Well, you're an official sponsored athlete from A Leon. How did that happen?
So again, the friends I made in China, shout out to Kamal, who is the head coach at Absolute MMA in Melbourne, one of them. He was doing privates with the current owner of A Leon when he was still in Shanghai before he moved. And then he kind of brought me on to the A Leon team. They also, it's the same people as Method.
Yeah.
And then that was last year, actually, around this time.
In terms of like competition, like submission grappling and jiu-jitsu, for example, which rule sets do you favor the most? Let's say as a competitor first, and then as a spectator second.
Competitor, I would say for nogi, now that they've changed the rules for IBJJF, I like the nogi IBJJF rules.
The point system, yeah.
Yeah, I think the gi rules are still there's some improvements that could be 100%. Made. Like that I think are just silly, but to their credit, they are adapting to the times slowly, but like they are.
Yeah.
I think ADCC has some like issues. It's just really hard to score. I'm not a huge fan of the ADCC rules.
It's really wrestling heavy, yeah.
Kind of. It's like if you take someone down to turtle,
yeah, you don't
there's
get
no points.
What do you call it? A rule seminar, or like to get a certificate, or whatever you call it, basically. And they just said, unless you have at least 50% of the shoulder blades or their back on the mats, you're not going to score, basically.
Yeah.
So that's why everyone turtles in the rule set, basically.
No, I know. And it's like beneficial to me because I love to. I still think like fundamentally it's kind of weird. There's some issues. Yeah. CJI I loved watching.
Yeah.
And I would love to fight in the pit too.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. So I think as a spectator, CJI, and an athlete, I think those rule sets are good. One could be okay, but like I think some of their calls are weird.
It's because it's supposed to be submission orientated, and then you score by catching a submission, I think it is, right?
Yeah, but that's so subjective.
Yeah, exactly.
And they made weird calls with that. So to summarize, IBJJF Nogi, I like. CJI, I like off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I did this crazy tournament like in July for United World Wrestling.
Okay.
And they had like push-out rules, which is super cool. Like I'm not a great wrestler, but like I really like that rule set because all the matches were crazy to watch. Like it was insane.
Yeah.
So I think they run their own like world championship and stuff too. So yeah, I would check out that rule set too.
What's the push-out rule?
It's like in wrestling, if you push someone out of bounds.
Okay, so it's like freestyle. Right. Oh, that is cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you pull guard, it's considered a takedown.
Ah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. With ADCC, I think one of my biggest gripes about it is since I organize competitions, is the kids' matches are 5 minutes.
Okay.
Like most jiu-jitsu competitions, like the younger you are, the shorter the matches, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, like I think it's to a certain age, it's 2 minutes. Then to like maybe just before teens, it's something like 3 minutes.
Okay.
But the problem is obviously if you don't score, there's OT as well. So that means...
Oh, so long.
Yeah, so it's like potentially every match could be 7.5 minutes for kids.
Yeah.
It's too long, I felt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes,
I agree.
That's my only gripe about the competition. Because like, obviously, if you're going to organize a competition or you are at a competition, you want to try and get the kids done in the morning, get them out of the way, so the parents can like go on the podium, be happy, and then you can take care of the rest afterwards, basically.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Mm-hmm. So in terms of like travel, training, etc., how is it as a woman? Obviously, because I hate to say it, but for guys, like they're relatively safer, I would say, depending on which country you're going to.
Yeah.
And obviously, you wrote an article a while back about the creeps, obviously.
There are many.
There's so many. I'm actually shocked at how many there are, actually.
I'm one of them.
So yeah, do you find like finding like really weird vibes when you go to certain gyms and stuff like that?
I think I've been pretty lucky, or actually no, because like I've trained at a ton of gyms, so it's not luck. It's just most gyms are totally fine in terms of like creeps, I'd say. Yeah. I'd say the creeps live online in our inboxes. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, but traveling around, I mean, even without jiu-jitsu as a female, it's generally less safe. I feel like after living in Cape Town and living in Oakland, like I kind of developed just common sense, you know? So like I went to Brazil by myself for a month and all my Brazilian friends freaked out and thought I was going to die. And like for sure, like I was very aware. I was hyper aware of my own safety. In certain countries, I'll travel with like a second phone, like a cheaper one. So if I do get robbed, here you go.
Yeah, it's actually an interesting dynamic. I was speaking to Joseph about it, and he's like, I would never go to the US unless the training was so high level and good there. He just says, I hate being there. He talks about like the New York subway and stuff like that. Yeah. And then I think a lot of people from the West are actually starting to realize now how good the standard of living and the safety is in certain countries over here. Like, for example, Thailand. I mean, I could leave my phone lying around. Everything's fine. And then my friend said he was checking out a hotel in Barcelona. He got his phone nicked, and then he got his like luggage taken immediately. And I'm just like, yeah, he does actually have a pretty good point there.
It's really nice living in a safe place. And after living in not so safe places, I really appreciate it. Like we lived in Medellin for 8 months.
That felt dangerous.
Again, it's just a big city. Granted, Bangkok is a big city, but I feel safe here. It's just certain areas you have to be very aware. And like don't take taxis at night by yourself. Or like always call an Uber instead of a taxi, you know, like stuff like that. I think training always helped because like I'd have an immediate like into some local friends who would like kind of just give you the lay of the land. Yeah.
Another question I want to get into is like instructionals because there's so many out there now. Yeah. Right. So my question is, do you study instructionals? And if so, which are your favorite or current favorites? Like let's say all-time favorite and one that you're finding really helpful right now.
So I am a huge fan of Lockie's sub-meta. It's like small bites and not super in-depth. But I find that good to just get an intro into like some idea that I'm currently interested in. Yeah. So I would highly recommend that as like a general like learning platform. Instructionals, again, huge Lockie fan. I liked his leg lock anthology. When I was in Shanghai, Kamal was super into like half guard and stuff. So I feel like I learned a lot of his half guard stuff too. And then nothing stands out to me right now. Gordon's Body Lock DVD I really enjoyed. I don't have a great answer for like what my favorite instructional is. Like I just kind of like go through a ton of them on various platforms. Yeah.
I never thought of this until quite recently. So recently, Craig Hutchinson was here, and he's half Japanese, half British. And he was telling me how, like, you can study some instructionals, but actually what benefits him or seems to work for him as a competitor is watching matches. Yeah. Yeah. And he says that like a lot of instructionals, you'll have like this huge encyclopedia of like all this information, whereas probably in terms of practicality and what you're going to use in a competition, probably it's like a very small segment of that basically. Yeah. Yeah.
Something I started doing last year that I actually found super helpful with my matches and other people's was I'd watch it and I actually write out like everything that happened, kind of like you're commentating. So you actually like make sure you understand everything that happened and why. So I found that was a really good exercise to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I tend to find I do something very similar. I do a lot of note taking when I'm watching instructionals as well. But when I have to teach classes, I find just like filming the critical points in the instructional helps. Like watching the clips right before I start teaching, just so I'm like, oh yeah, those are the key points basically.
Yeah. Like the last year, I feel like I was just training so much that I actually didn't have time to study a ton. Because I mean, you go into class every day and Gi's teaching, so like,
I mean, you don't really
that
need,
is an instructional. So yeah, I think that's probably why nothing comes to the top of my head right now.
Yeah. In terms of like when you're training there, like you said, well, your favorite coach was Gi, or?
I'd say not like necessarily. I think I actually enjoyed all of the coaches. Tainan's obviously talented. I'd say I learned a lot of like specific techniques from Cole.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he would do the nogi classes, and I really liked the way he explains things.
Okay.
Tainan I just had less exposure to, just because I wouldn't do the 6 often.
Yeah.
I got a lot more into nogi versus gi for a time period. So I was like learning a lot from Cole.
Okay. So you did travel around a lot as well. I mean, obviously there's all these different famous gyms all around America, especially like in Austin, Texas right now as well. You've been to B Team before as well, right?
Yeah, a couple times.
Yeah. How did you find that?
It was great. So I went for roughly a week before ADCC to train with Margot and Brianna, and my friend Emily came as well. I really loved the way Dima structured everything, and I think...
Oh, you got exposed to Dima.
Yeah,
right.
So I don't know if I just don't know how it is without him there, so I can't comment on B Team without Dima.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would do the ADCC CJI class at noon. And it was very wrestling heavy. Like my back like exploded after that week.
Yeah.
But it was very cool to see how he structures things. And then we would also go back at night and like people would just be on the mat workshopping stuff. And he's like an open book. Yeah. So yeah, I couldn't speak more highly of my experience there.
Did you get a chance to go to Hensel Gracie Austin?
No, I did not. I think like if I went back to Austin, I'd just train at B Team.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. Or I'd love to check out Brazilian Top Team or Fight Factory.
Yeah, I heard amazing things about them as well. Yeah. Sparky was telling me how the kids were just so polite and so respectful, and they're just like really, really nice kids, basically. Yeah. So in terms of, well, you've traveled way more extensively than I have. Which country do you think is the fastest growing in terms of grappling? Let's say in the Asia area, let's say.
Fastest growing... Probably China.
Probably, yeah.
It's just hard to like see because it's so massive, and like I said, the social media is insulated. I think it's growing really quickly here, Vietnam. Yeah. But I'd say if you were gonna say numbers, like China, for 100%, sure. Like, how could it not be?
Yeah. The problem with Japan is I just think it's the Asian population aspect of it, to be honest. Yeah. Yeah. Because in terms of competitors, there's only like, I'd say the Niwa brothers, and surprisingly, Craig actually said that he's not really into competing that much. I mean, he did compete at 1, and he is going to be competing on the 22nd as well. But yeah, he actually enjoys the coaching side of things more. Yeah. I'd
love to visit Igloo in Japan. Like they have quite a few good people coming out of there.
Yeah. I met the guy before he opened it. I think his name is Honma, I think it is. We went to Crazy Bee, and there's this like whole open mat training session that we had there, and I met him there. But yeah, here at Igloo is very like open in terms of like how you can train and stuff like that. But I think the one dynamic that I never really enjoyed about Japan is obviously like once you're out, you have to stay out. You can't just go back and forth. Like here, I can go to the gym, I can go home, but like basically you have to plan where you're going to train because you have to train at various places. Yeah. Yeah. That means you have to pack a lot of stuff, and basically if you're going to be out, you're going to be out the whole day basically.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I've been in Japan, I've been traveling, so I didn't mind that so much. Igloo is just one of those gyms I haven't visited yet, and I've visited quite a few in Tokyo.
Yeah. Another question is, so you're back in Thailand now. What are your future plans now?
Retirement. No. I was thinking of doing Nogi Worlds at the end of this year, but I think I'm probably just gonna take some time off. Like I said, or like you said, I competed a ton last year, and I basically burnt myself out. Yeah. So I feel like I'm still kind of recovering from that. So I think for the rest of the year, just chill, enjoy training again, and then we'll see what's in store for next year.
That's interesting. Enjoying training again. You weren't enjoying it for a while.
I think I was enjoying it, but it did eventually turn into something that felt like a job, which is totally fine if you don't have another job. Yeah. I kind of like, it's not pleasant waking up early morning and going straight into like fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
So I think that was the main thing. I definitely need some time off.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now,
Okay.
even though people keep trying to get me to do stuff.
Yeah. So you guys just pull guard from here.
Yeah. So I was actually, this was when I was actually working a lot more outside passing, but I had watched her matches before and I knew she was going to pull. So I just decided, like, why not?
Okay. No problem.
So yeah, double guard pull. I was trying to see if she would come up or not, try to get a feel for how strong she is. Decided, let's play legs.
Yeah.
I think I was a huge fan of the Mikey lock at this time.
Yeah.
So I think I was trying to get to 90-10, but that wasn't working. Yeah, it was just a lot of like being aggressive on the legs. It's really hard to leg lock short people. So I think I racked up like 5 advantages.
Yeah.
Just kind of like trying to get something.
Do you think girls tend to have like way more flexible joints? Do you find that like leg locking women are girl like getting caught in a leg lock's a lot harder than guys, let's say?
Yeah, for sure. Just in terms of size, like Kaori is very hard to leg lock.
You can't even grab her neck.
Yeah, exactly. And also, yeah, like one of the guys at the gym, CJ, I think he tried to Junie lock me the other day. And was just like horrified at the way my knee was pointing. Yeah, my knee moves independently of my hip and foot, which is an issue often.
Yeah. So in terms of passing, which do you prefer? Because like it's usually categorized in 3. There's like pressure, outside, and then submission passing. Yeah.
So I used to only do body lock passing, which is great. Like it feels great to like finish it.
Yeah.
But right now, especially after the Bali camp, I really like the way Joseph has been passing.
The camping.
Yeah. The camping, tripod stuff.
Yeah.
So I've been working that a lot more and a lot more movement. That's the main thing I had to change. Fighting girls my size was you can't body lock like someone very well who's super flexible and small.
That's true. Yeah.
It's just harder. Yeah. So like the outside passing, I definitely developed over the last year. So I fucked up here. Really technical commentary. I think she gets like a pretty gnarly like head and arm, and then you can kind of fast forward over, or actually no. This is where I just throw my ass into her face. Yeah. So here I'm trying to go for switch to 90-10, but she has my foot caught.
Okay.
So I actually I had the thought process of like I could come up right now for 2, but there was still like 6 minutes left, so I didn't want to like hop just yet.
Yeah.
So I made the decision to just stay on bottom. Yeah, she tries to knee cut. I let her get to my head, and then we are basically stuck there for like I don't even know how long.
Oh, that is quite a long time. Actually.
Yeah, like I was like very, very stuck. Her pressure was very good. Oh wait, go back.
Oh, you got on top.
Yeah. The bridge from hell. So here I'm just like, great, I'm just going to hold on to this foot, but if I don't do something, she's going to pass.
Oh, nice.
So I just basically just bridged. And then now there's 2 minutes left. I'm like, okay. I was almost like debating, like, should I stand back up? Should I engage legs again? Like, it's kind of risky because I'm only up 2.
Yeah.
And then here, I actually go for a body lock and just kind of hunker down.
Yeah, I really enjoy the body lock as well.
Yeah, it works way better for me against bigger people. Just because, like, there's less room to squirm around. And if you lock it right underneath their spine, it's like, it's a great feeling.
Yeah. And you convert straight to the high tripod pretty quickly from there as well.
Yeah, exactly. So here, like, now, a year later, I like totally could have passed like just watching this again. Instead I just kind of played it a bit conservative. I should have like high stepped over like Joseph does with the right leg. We just kind of got stuck here. I think like at the end she almost does sweep me.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that was basically the whole final. I think like the highlight of that for me, that tournament, was just like for the first time having like a clear, I could hear myself think in the middle of the match, which often like was hard for me.
Yeah.
Like finally calming down enough, make decisions where I'm like, oh, that was actually a good one under pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always been like that as well. I tend to just go berserker and I'll win spectacularly or lose like spectacularly. And usually it was more of the latter. But I think the first time I ever thought clearly was at that ADCC that we both went to.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Before that, it used to be terrible. I wouldn't think, basically.
Sometimes that's better, but it just depends. It's like, but I'm most proud of like the strategic decisions I've made in certain comps, just like having that clarity of thought.
Yeah. That's awesome. Question number 1. Instructor authority. How much authority should instructors have over students' personal lives?
0.
That's it?
Yeah.
You want to elaborate on that? Okay.
There's not much to elaborate.
Yeah, it's true.
It's just like, why should they? As a friend, if they're your friend, go for it. Yeah. But just from your role as an instructor, like what why would you have any say over someone's personal life?
Exactly.
Even as a friend, like, you know, personal autonomy.
Question number 2. Jiu-Jitsu gym non-negotiables, i.e. rules, etiquette, training partners.
No training with skin infections.
Yeah.
Obviously. Respect space. Like, don't roll into people like just cause like you're in the middle of like an intense round. Like, always be aware of other people's safety. That's like a huge pet peeve of mine.
Yeah. Have you had a serious injury because of it?
Concussions. Yeah, pretty bad.
Ooh.
So that's why I realized last year, I think I have like some form of like PTSD from it.
Yeah.
Because like I have like a very like strong trauma response when like in crowded mat spaces that I had to work through a lot.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got a concussion when you were in Shanghai, and you told me like you're like down for a month, where like even like any kind of lights was like gave you serious like headaches, right?
Yeah, like crying.
Oh, wow.
And I think I came back too fast from that. So yeah, like I think the top 2 non-negotiables for me for gym:
spatial awareness, cleanliness. Yeah. Question number 3: immediate red flags at gyms or new training partners.
Training partners is, you can kind of feel when someone's gonna be dangerous. Like,
really?
In the first like 10 seconds of you rolling with them. Red flags, I'd say rules that say you can't train somewhere else.
That was a big thing for me as well. That was my first gym in Scotland as well.
Yeah. I think that's ridiculous. Coach sleeping with the students, obviously.
That's a big one for me as well. Yeah.
Depends. It's like if the coach is dating someone. Yeah. That's different. But like, you know, I've seen plenty of the other case. Yeah. Those are the 2 main red flags.
Okay. Question number 4. What was your worst training session ever and why?
I don't know. Probably when I got the concussion. I feel like if I have bad training sessions, it's just because of my performance. Yeah. But I'm pretty good at saying no to things I don't want to do and stuff like that. So I don't have a good answer for that.
Okay. So where's the worst gym you've been to?
Oh, God. There was one gym in Southeast Asia, I won't name names, but like puzzle mats, like people were walking in and out of the toilet, like not washing hands, there was no feet, like cleaning stuff. That freaked me out. Yeah.
Okay. How has BJJ enhanced your personal development outside of the mats?
I think it has given me a lot of good role models professionally, and it's just made me value my overall health a lot more. So I'd say that enhances my whole life.
Okay. So give me an example of a role model.
I'd say shout out to Liv Giles. She is also coaching down in Absolute in Melbourne. It was just really nice when I first met her, like meeting a female who's just like very talented, very hardworking, just normal and smart, and like and runs her own business, is a physio. Like now she has 2 kids, is still running everything.
Olivia's a physio as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Oh, okay. That makes more sense now. Yeah.
I don't think she's practicing now, but like she immediately comes to mind when you ask me like who I have looked up to in the sport. Like it's not necessarily like the people who have won worlds. Yeah. It's the people who have done really well. Tammy Musumeci is another one.
She's a lawyer, right?
She's a full-time like lawyer in a district attorney office, and like she still kicks my ass. Like it's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Question number 6: steroids in jiu-jitsu.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Is that a question?
Were you surprised at how common it was, or was there something that you didn't know, some misconceptions that you had with steroid use?
I felt like I was very naive about steroid use until like recently. All of the people popping and stuff. I also didn't know, I never thought that women in my division or even smaller could be on steroids, but like after kind of learning a lot more, like, yeah, like they totally can be. And it really frustrated me for a time being. But
really?
Now, yeah, just because like when you're putting in so much work and struggling with recovery, it's kind of shitty to like, see other people being able to do more work just because of that. So yeah, steroids bad.
Yeah.
Unless you're like over, I don't blame like guys over like 35 for like actual like TRT.
Because I'm starting to think about that as well.
Yeah, that's totally fine to me. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying if you do it, don't compete in the adult division.
Yeah. But I hear that, like, with guys, obviously, once you're on, you have to be on it constantly after that, I think. I might be wrong. I don't know much about, but with women especially as well, if you're taking, like, exogenous hormones or testosterone, doesn't that mean later on you're going to have problems with, like, fertility and stuff like that as well?
I believe so. Again, I haven't done a ton of research into steroids, so I don't know. But I do think it's a very short-sighted decision to, like,
I think so
go
as
on
well,
the juice, because, like, a lot of the competitors who are not thinking about kids yet. Like, I didn't think I wanted kids when I was 18.
Yeah.
Doing something that affects your fertility now and, like, having it affect, what you might want 10 years down the line, I think that's very short-sighted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question number 7. If you got into a street fight, what would be your go-to move or sequence to win?
Running.
Seriously, that's the correct answer though. Seriously, 100%.
No, I have a pretty big bone to pick with self-defense classes in general. I've been asked to teach them sometimes, and like the only thing I'll show is basically like how to break grips and like make space and disengage, and like over and over I'll just hammer down the point, like, this is so you get away. You don't know how to fight. I've been doing jiu-jitsu 10 years and I feel like I know how to fight less than ever. Like, you're just more aware of all the stuff that could go wrong, right? If I had to engage in a street fight, like, I just like, depends. Is it a girl my size?
Let's say if it was 2 scenarios, a girl that was getting into your face in a bar, for example.
I think if I had no choice but to engage, like if she was not giving me the option, I'd just like trip her.
Yeah.
And like hold her hair so her head doesn't hit the floor.
Yeah.
But like you have to be wary of that, especially in the US. It's like, what if someone hits their head and dies? Like, you're responsible. Like, I'm a black belt. Like,
you hear countless stories about that in the UK as well, because there's so much cobblestones as well.
Yeah.
And one drunken night, some guy calls you something and you punch him in the face and he lands on the side of a curb, for example. That's it. Your life changes forever.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
So it's like, I would engage in self-defense, but, or like, I would engage to protect myself, but like I wouldn't try to like break anything.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing missing in jiu-jitsu as a sport?
I think professionalism.
Professionalism.
Like my friend Sarah is Adele's manager, and Brianna, and through her I've just kind of learned how a lot of like the wheeling and dealings of like contract negotiation and stuff.
You advertised a podcast episode that she was out in recently. Would you recommend listening to that?
Totally. She was on BJJ Mental Models recently talking about like contracts and stuff and like how athletes should negotiate.
Yeah.
I think that whole area of jiu-jitsu could be great. Like I almost died when Mo was bragging about not having contracts for ADCC. Like it was a good thing. Like, yeah, I was just like, why is that something to, talk about in a positive light? It's like contracts are there for a reason.
Yeah.
So I think like lack of transparency, lack of professionalism is something that could really improve in jiu-jitsu. And I believe will. Like with people like Sarah and like people who have come in from different professional fields. Like Seth Belial. I just listened to a podcast he did talking about CJI. He used to work in tech. Yeah. And so like he kind of also brought in that professionalism to help run it in a way that was obviously very good.
Yeah. Good answer. My last question is, why do you compete?
To get better faster. I feel like jiu-jitsu is super fun, but I wouldn't be anywhere near as good as I am today, which is still not great, but like, okay. If I didn't compete, like you get that dopamine hit, especially after you lose and you're like, rewatch everything. What did I do wrong? And I feel like that accelerates your progress so fast. And that's why I compete, because like I hate it.
Yeah.
But it's a good way to test yourself. And like, especially before AOJ, I wouldn't be able to have many rounds in the gym against females my size, my level, to really understand where my jiu-jitsu is at. So like, I always advocate for people to compete at least once.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with you. I've just got a couple more questions to ask. Number one, what does a black belt mean to you?
I think it means time spent on the mat. I don't think it's necessarily a reflection of skill or anything. Like I remember at the volley camp, Joseph and Owen were like, how does it feel like getting told by brown belts?
Yeah.
I was like, honestly, I don't care. Like at AOJ, you get like blue belt phenoms beating up black belts, you know? So like belts don't mean much to me other than time spent.
Yeah. Okay. And lastly, who would you like to thank?
My sponsor, Allione. They've done a lot for me this past year. I think they're one of like the brands doing the most for their athletes right now. They're doing really great things for the grappling community in Asia.
Yeah.
Thank you to my partner, Ben, for putting up with me the whole last year of competing and being crazy.
Were you not a good person during that period?
No, it's just a very selfish pursuit. I'm like, hey, let's go to California, triple our like cost of living or more. Wake up at 5 every morning.
Yeah. Would he come to all your training sessions?
He would train the 6s. Like he had like a full-time job, so he'd have to get back for meetings and stuff. So he'd do the 6 and comp, but no, he wouldn't train as much as me.
Okay.
So I feel like I got a lot out of AOJ, what I expected to. But yeah, so thank you for that.
Yeah.
And like, you know, my friends, my support group, I made a lot of very good female friends there. So thank you to you guys, you know who you are, for also keeping me sane the past year. Yeah, and thanks for having me on.
You're more than welcome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.